Hello, Tim here. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about charcuterie boards, or bread board, cheese board, whatever you want to call it. And what I have prepped already here, this one happens to be in cherry, and what I have prepped here is done on the lathe, so I've profiled an edge. If you don't have a lathe, you could do it with a router and a bit, I suppose. But getting an edge like this here first, there's all different kinds of patterns you can do. And I gather patterns from all different sources. A lot of my books here, sometimes in a museum, and I'll see something like an acanthus leaf, for example, or maybe some geometric thing or some Art Deco pattern or something like that. Once you decide on a pattern, I recommend sketching or whatever you want. Look around. Different sources for your inspiration, but whatever you do on your workpiece, we have to divide it out equally. So let's show you how to do that. So what I have here is your standard dividers, and that's exactly what this does. So I set it to what seems to be the right amount of divisions here, and walk it around. And when you time it out just right, then you know you got them equally spaced. Now there might be an easier way with algebra. See, I'm a little bit too strong here now, so it's not going to work. I got to back it off maybe a little bit and go around again. So in some cases I might go around half a dozen times to get it right, and then I mark the center. A little bit goes a long way for adjustment. I already have the marks on this board. I just haven't set this divider up exactly where I want it to be. And I'll sketch just a little bit of what my pattern's going to be. And then I got the other thing I might do here in this case is divide this in the middle, and I'm just sketching it here, but there's going to be a flower here, so there's a motif like this. This comes down here, and I'm doing this upside down for the benefit of showing what I'm doing. But so then that would repeat every line on center. So this would be repeated here. So this board here is just to show you how I do the layout roughly. But this is the one I'm going to demonstrate. This board happens to be aspen, and you can see what I mean by what I've carved or I've done here, and I've laid out, and I've just did a rough sketch of my pattern. Now, sometimes people want just a hard line. I don't necessarily need that. I just need to have the general idea what I'm going to do. Because what happens when you're doing something like this, your tools are going to tell you, they're going to do the cutting for you. Now you can see that I've completed almost all of this, because this would take some time to watch. Actually, what I'd recommend, a couple things about this. This happens to be aspen wood, and it's not, I don't really like it as far as a carving wood, because it's a little too stringy. But the other thing is, I recommend doing it pretty much all at the same time. I started this maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and if you look really close, you'll see that some of these vary because I started doing something and then I think, oh, I forgot to do it somewhere else. So I try to make them all pretty much the same, and it's all spaced right. It's just that it just took a long interval to do. All I'm going to show here is just this part, the bottom part here, and what I do to get there, to carve the pattern here, and then we'll talk a little bit about stippling the background, which when it gets finished, it'll really kind of accentuate that. What I have placed on my bench here is a piece of material. It's kind of a plastic that's called Dicium. And if it gets dusty, it doesn't do the job like it's supposed to, but it kind of holds things from moving around. And use a piece of leather and a hold down. So you can see here that I have this, my pencil marks here, and they're just kind of a little bit sketchy. And what the tools will do for me, if you choose the right ones, and someone might ask, you know, why so many tools? Can't you do with fewer tools? You probably could. You could probably do it with a few knives and all that. But the advantage of having the variety of tools is that each one, and some tools I use only for one cut. Like this cut here, that's for this leaf here. And it's going to be the same cut everywhere that you use it there. So that's what this tool does here. This one I use for the inside, and because it's an outside bevel like this, I have to tip the tool a little bit down to get that cut. I like to do an overcut so that you're cutting clean. This is a bent tool here, which allows me to get in. This has already been cut and shaped. I'm not going to carve it there. But sometimes, because you got the grain of the wood going one direction or another, especially on the end grain, it wants to be cut. The wood wants to be cut a certain way. So that's why I use a bent tool like this here to clean that up. This one here is a 5/8 number 5, which is a very useful tool, and that's for this bottom part of this leaf here. And I use a bronze mallet here. It's got packs of wallop for being so small. I really like the feel of it. You can hold on to it. A wood mallet's okay, but they're just a little bit big. You have to have a big, and you have to hit harder. Now this is a 1/2 inch number 5, and all these tools, they're different manufacturers. I found them in different places, and I like this one a lot because it's a lot thinner than some of the other tools that I have that are a little thicker there, so you have to grind more metal back to get the same cut. But in this particular case, this is a broken tool that was reforged, and I use that one. This is a Marples, and I use that for a cut down here. So for the flower here, I'm going to use, this is the one I use for this here. So this is the setting in part here. I'll come back again and do another cut, but this is a, what, number 9 gouge. And all I do for this one here, this gives me that button in the middle. So I just press it down and just kind of work it around in a circle. Be a little gentle with it because you don't want to pop it out of there. And I think all the setting in is about done for the first round here. So this is a Fishtail Gouge. Number 3 gouges are really useful because you can get almost as flat a background as you can with a chisel, but it's got a little bit of a, it doesn't dig into the bottom there if you don't go too deep with it. Again, this is a number 3 gouge, it's a smaller one. This is the easy part here. You're cutting up to your pattern. I can tell that this is pulling a little bit here. I need to sharpen it, so I had to keep my strop handy. That's better. You don't want to overhit this either, because once it starts getting a little more detail, you can break things out. Just light taps. Now this, I use a skew chisel here to get up into the corner there. There's another step I do. You kind of develop your own habits here. I kind of relieve the background here, down here. Just make a parting cut here so it'll clean away. I found it really hard to work with a mask on because I end up having to blow my chips away when I'm carving. Now this is a very small number 3 gouge to get in between here. One of the things I find interesting about wood carving is depending on what you're trying to do, you'll find that maybe you're not able to get the cut you want, or if you're trying to copy something, you might have to go get a tool that has that particular cut or profile. And that's why I have as many as I do, because there's something that's just saying, okay, there's a tool for that cut. Again, this is where I find that aspen's being a little stringy. It's not cutting as clean as maybe some other woods do. It's hard to clean it up. It looks very similar to basswood, but it behaves different. One of the reasons I put tape on some of my tool handles, I used to have a lot of different colors of them, so I can find the one I'm looking for quicker. Now I'm going to make an overcut on the leaf part here, because I'm going to come back and do a little detail like that right there. A little detail like that there. There's where the center lines help you. And this little one here, all I use for this cut is, or use this tool for, is for this cut here. what this is a nutcracker tool for cracking nuts, but I use it as a burnisher. So I put it on a piece of bamboo that I had and kind of get this, and get kind of the fuzzies out of here. Get the background prepared for texturing. That's what I'm going to do next. After I get this done here, so I've got this started, I'm going to go around again. And I use my number 5 gouge here. So you take it easy and come right up to your cut line. Don't push too hard or you'll break it off. When I first started carving, I would cut things off and then glue them back on, and then only to take them off again because I was unsure of how far to go. Do this little detail here. Now what I chose to do on this here is I'm going to use some punches, and we'll talk about this in another video, just how to make your own. This one I made is pretty simple, just a nail in a piece of wood. And you can do all that with just one punch if you want to, but what I'm going to do here, I'm stippling the background. What that'll do is kind of capture a little shadow in there, make it highlight the pattern a little bit when we're all done. This is where you need to do single ones here, or in the corners where you can't get them. And just kind of give it a quick look around and see if you got all the, pretty much everywhere. Looks pretty good to me. There's one more minor thing I do. What I'm going to use here is some 320 grit sandpaper. And all that does is just kind of burnish it over. I don't want to take the detail out. It's not going to do that. So I'm just taking off the pencil marks and kind of burnishing it over. I don't usually recommend sanding, but if this is going to be an active board, you don't want to have slivers and things that might stick up and have someone anything break off. Not that I'm worried about slivers so much from this, but all right, that about does it. So here's the completed section I just did. Again, I might have a little bit of residue fuzz that didn't cut clean, but that's the section I just did. The final step now is to put an oil finish on it. If you're going to make it something that's going to be more decorative and just hang on the wall, then you maybe want to put a varnish on it or something like that. This product here I've used before in other videos, Mahoney's walnut oil. And this will get eventually a real golden color. But you just keep adding more on here, and I really like the way this stuff behaves because it dries. But you can always add more on it and rejuvenate it. This product is food safe, and it's not that expensive. Like I said, I wouldn't use steel wool on this because if steel wool just kind of break away and stick, maybe get dirty in the corners. So burnishing it down, and I even burnished it with a cloth. You just want to make sure that nothing catches on the edge so that it breaks away. But it's meant to be used, and so it's going to get knife marks in it, and maybe a little build up in the corners and things like that. But that's a sign of a piece that's well used. And I've seen antique ones that are just all knifed up and crisscross with marks in it. I think that's pretty cool looking. Let me just get the back side here. I like it. It's turned out pretty good. These make nice gifts, and I gave one as a wedding gift. So I'd recommend basswood. That other board is cherry. Cherry is a really good wood to carve. It just has a tendency to dull your tools up, but it's a good wood for eating off of. Basswood's probably your best for doing stuff like this, and birch is really good for that too. But this is what it looks like in aspen. And that's it. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you would, and give a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.